Back at Richmond, coming to the green for the restart in the Chevy Rock and Roll 400. Top 22 on the track did not pit. Top 21, excuse me. First one in line who did pit is Elliott Sadler in 22nd position for the restart.
Well, like, you know, those guys were not handling, so they didn't have a choice. They needed to come in and make those changes, because if your car's not working, it's not going to fix itself. So those guys were basically forced to come in to help their car handle better.
And if they get a caution here in a few laps with the field bunched up for the restart, the leaders come into pit, they'll stay out.
And if their car feels okay now after those adjustments, sure, they'll stay out, because the tires here do not drop off anything like they did at Darlington last week. About a quarter of a second is all they see from the beginning or the end of a run.
Jeff Gordon leads, Jeff Burton second, Ryan Newman's third, Greg Biffle fourth, Mark Martin fifth. You're watching Dale Jr. running 8th place and try to move up a little bit. Here's your front 5. And the second group, Ward Burton 6th, Sterling Marlin 7th, Jr. there in 8th place. Got Todd Bodine in 9th, and Tony Raines now up to 10th. He just slipped around Johnny Benson. Second place. It looked like he was trying to put a little pressure on Burton there for a second.
I think the 12 car had ideas, a notion of trying to get by the 12 car.
This is a good race right here. These guys were packed in there side by side.
Now Robbie Gordon lost 1 lap while he was sitting there, spun around backwards on the backstretch, made a pit stop, got fresh tires on. He's in 43rd place, and he's the only car not on the lead lap at this point, Dave.
And of course, you remember the spring, Allen, where he had a right rear down at the start of the race, lost 3 laps, 4 laps actually. I think it was 3. Came back and made them all up and finished 4th. You know, I'm not even looking at my sheet. Joe can help me. Okay. But he was down lots of laps and made him up. He's only down 1 now. He did radio to the guys that the car is very tight since he restarted. He said, how bad is it killed? When they looked at the right front, they said, yeah, not that bad.
This is Matt. I'll help Dave on this one. It was 3 laps down, finished 4th.
And yes, he made them all up.
And the whole point, car really ran good here in May.
Boy, didn't he? Now Terry Labonte pretty far back in traffic, but has moved up to 19th spot after starting 32nd, Bill.
And stopped under that caution and took 2 right side tires and some fuel. Crew Chief Jim Long told me the reason they did it, they wanted to find out early how good the car is on 2 tires, could be a factor later in the race.
And really on this place, it takes about 35 to 40 laps before the handling starts going off of the car. So everybody's pretty much trying to run the same piece of real estate of the racetrack. Now is when cars start running up the racetrack, like you see Sterling Marlin there in 40 car. He's running a little bit higher than Dale Jr. So Dale Jr. is going to try to work him on the, maybe he'll take the look back up. See, they're both in the same spot. Looks like in 1 and 2, Dale Jr. can run a little bit lower.
And Ward Burton, the 22 car, trying to go by Mark Martin. That's the battle for the 5th position. And Ward hanging tough on the bottom of the racetrack in that 22.
Yeah, BP, you mentioned earlier that 22 car was working on the bottom. If he can stay there, he'll pass a lot of cars. If you can keep your car on the bottom of the racetrack here, you'll pass a lot of cars.
And Mark loses another spot, and in jeopardy of losing another spot to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car.
So Ward Burton to 5th, Sterling Marlin to 6th. Mark hanging in there, now losing 7th to Dale Jr., and he falls in line in 8th. Whoa, look at that. A little sideways.
Like a little contact between Tony Raines in the 74 and Mark Martin.
Coming through. Great drive by Tony Raines.
I'll tell you, that team has done such a good job compared to, they don't have near the budget these other teams have. And these guys are doing a good job.
You saw the sign on the quarter panel of Tony Raines' car, and you wonder what it was about. Lowe's Motor Speedway having a concert October 7th. The appreciation for Winston's involvement for the last 33 years, and Bruton said, I want to do something nice for those folks. So he asked Tony Raines to carry the sign tonight, and he is, and doing a very good job of carrying that sign around.
Jeff Gordon, the race leader, by 0.6 of a second over Jeff Burton. Jeff telling his crew a few moments ago over the team radio, this car is really good.
Obviously, everything's pretty good here. A little concerned about the brakes. You know, they were vibrating a little bit, but other than that, things are good. A little bit loose off, but other than that, real good. Turn the middle good.
When he says a little bit loose, that means it's okay.
And this is a place you use a lot of brakes. Brakes are a concern here. You see a lot of guys run a lot of hoses to the front calipers, pulling the air off the nose of the car to cool those rotors. It's really hard on brakes.
Third place, Ryan Newman. Matt, got an update?
Well, he's running in third. You would think after finishing second here twice, he would go back to the same setup and shock package, but they found a certain feel in a shock setup at Darlington that Ryan likes. They brought that shock package here. He's running very well. The car, though, is tightening up in the center of the corner, loose off. They were going to pit under that last caution if the leaders came, making a track bar adjustment. But Ryan is very happy with the car, and their brakes, that Matt Moreland tells him, are not looking bad at all from high atop the pit box.
And that glow that you see in the front wheels, that is the brake rotors glowing red on Ryan Newman's car. Matt Moreland says, looks okay to me. Looks red to me.
Yeah, that's the thing you watch. The cars actually that don't have that much red in the rotors, they're being easier on brakes. And if your car doesn't handle well here, if it is a little bit tight where the car doesn't turn, you tend to use more brakes. So if your car's handling good, you'll use less brakes.
Greg Biffle feeling some pressure from Ward Burton for fourth place. I talked to Ward's crew chief, Frankie Stoddard, this afternoon in the garage area. He said, yeah, we've got a pretty good car.
I agree with Frankie as he goes by Biffle.
Let's see if we can catch his rotor, BP.
How about we watch another guy moving up? Jimmy Spencer, the 7, started in 22nd place. He's working on Tony Raines for 8th. Look at this.
Check that out, huh? That's kind of blatant, isn't it? Well, that's good.
I talked to his crew chief, Tommy Baldwin, this afternoon. He said, you're going to like our onboard camera tonight. And I said, well, it's Spencer on a short track, right? He said, no, the decal on the dashboard. Matt?
Well, last year when Ward Burton, Tommy Baldwin's car led 130 laps, he told me tonight the setup almost identical that he had over the 22 car. Jimmy said the car is very good. He added a little bit more front brake to help him, but Tommy did warn him, be easy on those brakes because the front rotors are already starting to glow.
But see, that's like I was saying earlier, if your car's tight, in order for you to stop and sliding up the racetrack as much, you use a little bit of brake. But the problem with that is the brakes will get hot, and it'll cause you problems later on in the race. Got smoke coming out of the 6 car?
So Jimmy Spencer by Tony Raines up to 8th, and we check out 2nd place, changing hands. Ryan Newman by Jeff Burton. So Newman up to 2nd. He's got a pair of runner-up finishes here out of his 3 previous Winston Cup starts at this track. And now he finds himself 1 second and 48 thousandths behind that man, Jeff Gordon. Now, Jeff is on the 50th lap. When he comes back around to the start-finish line, he will complete lap number 50. We put the old New York City taxi cab up to remind you that the official race leader at lap 50 is Jeff Gordon. You need that information to win a trip to this year's Winston Cup Award ceremony. To serve as a special correspondent, log on to NASCAR.com and check out the NASCAR Big Apple Sweepstakes for rules and your chance to register every week. 50 laps into the Chevy Rock and Roll 400 at Richmond International Raceway. Jeff Gordon is your race leader.